May 8, 2021. I'm going to cut this is part 3 of the video of cutting metal. Actually going to be the previous 2 video I was cutting 16D nail, and I want to cut something larger, but I do have a lot of the 60D nail. However, the 60D nail have about 4 times the cross section of the 16D nail. So in order to cut successfully, a lot of it relies on the geometry, how the cut able to go perpendicular and go through. So anyway, so it becomes way too difficult for the test, and so I just take the I cut the trunk of this nail and anneal it so it softened. And now this is the trunk of this nail right here. Anyway, we'll cut for each edge blade. I will cut 2 times, and we'll again. So I mean, the comparison is not as it's still give you the sense of the comparison, but because the geometry I did not control it that tightly or too different, too time consuming. So basically, I'm going to take the better, I mean the cut of the 2, and because the works a lot of times happen to do with the steering, and sometimes it will steer so badly that I might stop and try to do a re-entry cut, I mean redo, or just call that a disqualifying. But anyway, and this is I try to get it so that they do vertical right there, entry. Let's start out with a 1085 at 61 Rockwell. Anyway, at the end of the video, I will make a close-up picture of the, and then side-to-side comparison between the edges. I already messed up. I mean, one thing about hammer wood and like that is really easy to mess up. Let me remove this thing now. I'm going to make more deliberate cut so that already. When it cut far enough, I mean like that, I want to remove it so that I can make the second cut, because if I impact the cutting block here, it's gotta ruin the edge. So that considered to be the first cut. I make 2 cuts because otherwise I have way too many cuts. Okay, if I can break my finger, then I'm successful. That's fine. And so that's the 2 cut. Larger cross section, but however, it's a lot softer than hardened steel. I have to monitor, make sure I don't get cut off. The thing got cut off. And I got a little blade. This is Z-wear, which is something as cruise wear, a 63.5 Rockwell. And got a tiny. I will go to make this thing into my utility knife, but well, when I start testing, I just want to see. It's took a lot more. It's steering or thing like that. But anyway, it took a lot more damage than the 1085. But anyway, we'll compare it at the. Again, I would take the better of the two. So cut. Again, geometry help a lot. I mean, how well bound, I mean, equal it is. Effective performance. And this one also have a similar, I mean, a lot more damage than the 1095, which is, I mean, I just put it here so that you can see early on that between the two right here and here versus the 1085 have hardly any. So the strength wise, I have to say, I mean, the 1085 actually is stronger. Anyway, so successful cut. This is S45VN, a 61 Rockwell here, and heat treat 65. Okay, break, that means it's good. And it's a look like a chip to me. Yeah, I found the S45VN quite brittle. Check the camera there, look like it bouncing and move this way I guess, out of the frame. Better, so we use the better. S30V 62 Rockwell. I got a little mark here. This edge from the previous test, so they're still intact. So that's why it's I know where to cut. little ripple. I might speed up the video so the sound might get cut off. .2060C3 62 Rockwell. Very small damage. CPM 154. 64 Rockwell. Heat treat 625. Let it cut and it moved forward a little bit. This blade, I mean, again, I was going to make a utility blade and then decide to test it anyway, so that way there's, instead of rectangular, I have this actually saved. Second cut a lot better, depending on because it's not at the belly. Aebl is 61 Rockwell. I think 6 heat treat 725. I got the handle on this thing before I can do tip test later. Geometry a little thicker, so it will wet a little bit more. Oops. A little mess up there, but that's okay. There was minimal collision, so. This one have a little convex to the edge, so it's still, I mean, looking for the ability to make a clean cut. And this Magnacut this is a control heat treat, a 62 Rockwell, and again previous cut here. Now I'm going to do this 2 new dot. It's a thinner, less wedgy. Also a little taller blade so I can see it, I can have vertical better and perpendicular to the cutting a lot better. Second cut better. This Magnacut BCMW heat treat 625 62 Rockwell. I yet resharpened this edge, and so it's mostly clean, so I'm using this way in the front here. Look like a big ripple. It's a little stuck. Second cut again better. I think I got used to the blade. Look how much it bent. And I think that's also problematic. It pins the edge substantially. So it's in 690, which is close to VG10, and heat treat 625, a 63 Rockwell. So it's not known for toughness here, and I would work on something with a little chip there, but it doesn't matter. It's going to face this guy here, either make or break. When it's longer, a little easier to cut, because I try to cut it close together so that I can have a macro picture if I think is relevant. Also, thicker spine help for me to hammer. If I look this way, I can see the shadow where I'm about to hit the block or not. Obviously, they didn't enter poorly. You can, I don't know if you can see it. Anyway, but that's okay. That's why I did not use completely hardened steel, because the steering going to be much worse and the bending will be a lot worse. Second cut did really, really good. Really well. And this is a clean part. Niolox 62 Rockwell, heat treat 65. I'm going to use toward the belly, so it might not turn out well, but that's alright too. Good luck to you. Good. It's cut where the dot is. A little coming in a little angle, but it's okay. The block move. To put it back where second time didn't do it well. I think pop it in now. You have a different entry point and then the edge gets shifted. Anyway, so far none of these things, none of the blade chips. Elmax heat treat 65, 62.5 Rockwell. Yep, they're pretty good, pretty strong. Second one didn't do as well the first one. Again, that's why I see a lot of it about entry and steering. So, but again, no chip either. CPM 3V, heat treat 725, 62 Rockwell. For these long blade, I want to test it at front here and lay down. I can just shorten the blade and I have a working blade. So deflected to the right, so the ripple, no chips or anything. Second cut did a lot better. There I can see some of the things, I can see the imprint, so I know exactly what the cut. Last one, hopefully I catch before the cut out, the camera cut out. This is actually overly thin here, so it could be deflecting all around. Venetta's 4E at 63.5 Rockwell, heat treat 725. So. Yep, went through too much. Well, tiny deflection, but done well. Pretty good. This is the result of all the blade, and you see what you see in is the close-up of the better cut from the two. After cutting the 6.6 millimeter diameter Annealed 60D nail. And what you're looking at would also consider that there's the word toughness versus get the job done, and without, with minimal damage. So keep that in mind when you look at this picture, because especially if you were looking at like Aebl 61 Rockwell, for example, as a reference, if you want to look that way, because among these steel, it's known to be with standard heat treat, it's known to be high toughness. Anyway, so let's look at 3V first. And you can see here from the 3V that it has some deformation here, and the scale here is 0.5 millimeter. It should be tick mark right here. It's 0.5 millimeter. And so the damage here is fairly minimal. There's no chip or anything. And then 26C3 here, 62 Rockwell, it did better and have a minor reflection and or ripple here. And compared to 1085 actually, well, I did observe that the 1085 from each hammer strike, the blade kind of move along a little bit. So anyway, so the damage a little bit kind of spread out, but again, it shouldn't be much different than the 26C3, but except a little better. And the Aebl is 61 Rockwell. It just well, it happened to deflect this way toward the out away from the screen here, and you can see that edge row right there. And also this edge here is the sharpened bevel right here is flat, so therefore even though the edge is above that is convex. But anyway, that does change how you wet it wets through the rod. CPM 154 note at 64 Rockwell. So there's no chip. It's just a minor deflection here compared to the 26C3. It's 26C3 a lot better, But however, cutting this depends a lot of geometry and a lot of how deflected. So, and the stronger it is, probably the better to keep it going straight. But again, it's only 2 cut. Maybe make 10 cut will make a good determination, but well, we have time for 2 cut. Elmax, the worst cut, also it did chip out right at about the Sharpened bevel right there. And the better one, even though, you know, here there's down here, the edge, it's got a little, very strong, a little ripple and roll here. But the crack here actually go all the way about to here, so this line here. So it's pretty extensive. So it's going to definitely a little bit more impact. This long chunk over here will come right out as a chip like that. But it doesn't go a half moon, you know, size or anything. So this is very limited because this is the lines of when the deflection and also high hardness here for Elmax. Elmax, among all the steel, Elmax has the highest carbon content. So, but anyway, it did very well, except now look like it at the limit, or it crossed over the limit of what it can handle. So again, only if you're going to do this kind of very high load impact. And Magnacut, the control, he treated 62 Rockwell. It did really well in terms of it have minor ripple and deformation here. Go away and two, I mean, from the viewer here. So overall intact. Compared to BluntCut, he treat Magnacut. The BluntCut version, or metalwork version, it saw a lot more deflection, but there's no chip whatsoever. And so again, as I would mention before, it's about sometimes that's how it wets to, and also whether you go in perpendicular down or not. But if I compare between the two, I have to say it looked like the control is a little stronger, because I mean this thing took a little bit more deformation here. But if you were compared to Aebl, and if we talk about in terms of toughness, well, you can't say that. Cannot say in this case Magnacut is tougher than Aebl, but that's why I say you have to look at it. The tougher one is the one that actually able to take more deformation without being fractured. And so, because you give up, sometimes you give up strength and you gain, say, ductility. And so I don't know whether or not exactly this is the case right here, but in terms of comparatively, this one takes some, you know, these, because of similar scale, you can see that the extent of it. And this one, even though from this also, you can, between the two Magnacut, this have a wider Sharpened bevel, that means have a thicker behind the edge too. I mean, so in other words, it's going at 18 degrees per side, up all the way up here, and 18 degrees only go this far, and then because the thinner behind the edge here, and so they might get impact weakened a little bit, so that it's allowed the edge to steer a little bit more instead of hold it in place. And Niolox at 62 here, the same hardness here, and of course this have much thicker behind the edge here. But anyway, here you can see the bevel. But looking at the reflection here compared to Aebl, it again have a little bent toward and away, It's a little smaller, less than Aebl, but it did the job and no fracture. 60D it's pretty good with some whole suction here is bent away and away on the other side. Anyway, but the scale here is the flat part, so it's not that bad, but you didn't see any chips. Among all the steel, the S45VN at 61 suffer chip, and the worst cut also suffer multiple of the little pocket of chip like that. And here is some of the deflection away. And I tried the S45VN many times on the other test, right about 61, and that's where it begins to show itself. Why not able to handle really hard tests. They would cut 16D nail, okay, but I think this test so it cannot handle, and that one got chunk taken out. So I found S45VN is much more brittle than Elmax actually. And while the Venatus 4E at 63.5 Rockwell here, this is just a dent. While I compare, you can see the sharp edges here from the chip. This is just a very tiny dent and a little curve. So it is a really good tight strength. And if you compare it to even the one like the Magnacut or 1085, I mean, this is really minor in scale, and maybe if you look at between here and here, the magnitude is about the same. Anyway, Venatus 4E did extremely well. Z-Wear was surprisingly show a lot of ductility on it. It's got plastic movement here. It didn't chips, but it, of course, if you keep pounding on it, and it would chip out, or if you try to say hammer it straight or something, just for kick. No, for these steel, deflection or bending is one way. You bend the other way, it's going to break. It's not like a ductile, really soft, highly ductile steel, like something in the mid-50 or something, Rockwell of carbon steel, and you can bend back and forth. And this steel contains carbide, and carbide fairly large, so they won't be able to allow slip back and forth and bend back and forth without breaking. This is one way. So therefore, when you see this kind of dent and bend, it's one way. The only way to restore the edge is by, say, like for the STDV, you just flatten it out, pretty much cut off this thing here, and just grind it off. You don't want to just barely, you say, oh, can I just grind it barely up right at the bend right there? Well, at the bend right there, you can see apex. That is a weakened steel because that's already been compressed on one side and stretched on the other side. So because it happened to be at that particular pivot point, and so you have to go above that a little bit, right where, about right here for this dent here, and which is, you can see here the deflection this way. You can go about right here, above here. All right, thanks for watching.